Hey everybody, it's Dr. Quinn here. I'm taking a look at the graphs that you were taking a look at as well. And I know that your post was due Friday, and I just wanted to give everybody a chance to post before you see my posts. And I'm going to go over sort of my reasoning for these graphs. And if our reasonings don't tend to match up, then one of the things you can do is reach out and let me know, and we can have a conversation about what you're seeing and our decisions on the best use of graphics. And so one of the things that I find with the report that's coming up is a lot of students will want to use, and I always argue, data-driven graphics. And there's data that's meant to be represented in all of these samples here, but they're not all created equally. One of the things that I caution students with is to make sure that when you're using, and you're thinking about data, let's see, let me show you. And I want to show you just some basic images of cybersecurity. The images, the fancification of like a lock. None of these images actually sell anything. It's not conveying data. So in the report to come, you want to make sure that your images are data driven and they're not artistic, right? I can tell that these are cool designs, but it doesn't convey any actual information whatsoever. So I'm going to strongly recommend that students shy away from these artistic style images and move toward very sort of specific data-driven images. Now, with the charts and graphs that we've got here in the discussion, this first one I would not use. You can see we've got the two axes here, at least the horizontal one, the vertical one starts at 0%, which is good. But when you draw the lines together, it makes it look like there's a trend, generally speaking, over time. And that is not actually what's being conveyed. These are different categories of people saying what they consider the top consequences of cybersecurity breaches are. So this would not be a good graph to use. The second one doesn't actually make sense. This is a pie graph. It should mean parts of a whole. Everything inside of it should equal up to 100%, but it doesn't. You'll notice that these categories alone, these three, are at 128% just here. So this is not a good way to configure it. Now, if a way to use a pie chart would be something like a budget, and you only have, say your income is $5,000 a month, and you want to show where money is being allocated, that's a good use of a pie chart. But again, everything is parts of a whole. So this one would not be a good image. This one I think is more interesting. Graph 3. So far, this is the best of them all. We see that the vertical axis starts at 0, and we see when we go horizontally, we've got those different categories, and within the different categories, we see the different percentages of cybersecurity breaches for this one. Okay, now let's look at graph 4. This is impossible to read. I see different categories. I can see negative online reviews is certainly the most popular one, but I see no horizontal measurement, no like x-axis measurement, right? So I'm not, this one, we're going to throw graph 4 away. Graph 5 doesn't actually start at 0. So again, when we're borrowing data from other sources, we have to make sure that the data we're borrowing conveys the arguments that we're making and that the data is accurate. This chart is not accurate. It doesn't start at 0. So I would be kind of nervous as to what those final percentages actually are. Is it 65%? Is it really 45% or 66%? I'm not sure what I'm seeing, so I'm going to throw graph 5 away as well. Graph 6 is not unlike graph 1, where it's trying to visually show us what looks like a trend over time, but that's not what's being measured here, so I wouldn't use graph 6. So of the ones that are presented, I think graph 3 is the best one. It shows each piece independently, and that's probably where I'd go. I don't know why I navigated away from that. But that's the choice that I would make, and that's sort of my rationale. When you create these on your own, note, let's see, if you go into Word, for example, there is an ability in Word to do like the charts and the graphs. Let's see, insert, you've got Smart Art, which can show flow charts. You can build your own charts, and I do think it does sync with Excel, so then you can make changes, and then the changes It can be modified. It's okay, by the way, for this upcoming paper to have a basic like 4x4 table, to have a basic flow chart. You can build something that's simple and straightforward. And remember, you wouldn't want to explain a table in a big chunky paragraph. You probably want a table to convey the information you can explain in a couple of sentences. Some information, especially data, is often more easily absorbed or understood in a visual medium outside of a paragraph. And so that's why in a technical writing class, we're mixing with the prose paragraphing and the instructions documents. But remember, the report is mostly prose driven. So be careful with a lot of bulleting and listing. You can do that, but do that limit the extent of that so that the bullets and lists pop and stand out. So again, you've got some of these tools in here. This is just in Word under the insert where you can build smart art. I recommend that you do not use any sort of clip art. Some of the worst images that I tend to see in academic documents are the teamwork images. So I wouldn't use any of these where people like shaking hands or bumping fists, or none of this has anything to absolutely do with the arguments I think you're going to be making in relation to the scenario that's coming up. These are all ineffective images. And again, straightforward, simple. You don't have to make it too complex types of images, help provide a mixture of data delivery. And that's the feedback that I've got for you on this discussion. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and to let me know.